Greetings family, I hope you're well. My name is Toyin Agbetu. As a part of my series on Afrophobia, I'm going to be asking, was the reporting following Harambe's shooting racist? By now, many of you have heard the tragic story about Harambe. It's a sad tale of how a silverback gorilla in Cincinnati Zoo was killed to save the life of a 3-year-old boy named Isiah Gregg. Now, Isiah had accidentally fallen 12 feet into the restricted enclosure, placing his life, I believe, at risk. As a vegetarian, I have to admit to being biased. I don't like zoos on principle. Like many others, I was initially upset that an innocent animal was murdered, possibly because of the poor judgment of Isiah's parents. But let's be clear, both Harambe and Isiah should not have been there. It's unnatural and morally wrong for animals to be held captive for the amusement of humans. In fact, not so very long ago, that was Africans in those cages. And as recent as 2014, there was an attempt to recreate the barbarity at the Barbican with the South Afrikaners at Brett Bailey's Human Zoo. Now, this nonsense was shut down after we boycotted it and had protests, but it just to make it clear that this stuff is still going on, or the ideas going on. Anyway, despite all that, the media storm that followed the shooting was disgusting. Within days, the parents have been demonized by editors across the Western world, and if you really think about it, the father's previous convictions were brought up, which had no bearing on the case, but they were splattered across the newspaper to ensure that the family received no sympathy, despite the fact that they had just endured what, by anyone's standard, must have been a very traumatic experience. Animal rights activists were demanding the parents were prosecuted. Others were even insisting that the zoo should have used a tranquilizer. Now, let me deal with that one right now and nip that quickly in the bud. Tranquilizers do not act instantaneously, and they actually sting when they hit you. So imagine Isiah was your child. Imagine being told by a member of the zoo that your 3-year-old child had died because they were wrong to decide that they should put a 450-pound gorilla to sleep quickly enough, and didn't realize the dart would alarm him, causing the gorilla to rip your child's arm off in distress. Imagine someone coming to you telling you that. I think I would have instantly snapped the neck of the zoo official on the grounds of my diminished responsibility, let alone their diminished intellect. So any way you look at it, we had to concede that the zoo did the right thing. It might have been tragic, but that was the right decision. And let's not forget the story of Keisha Armstrong and her then 3-year-old son, who survived a similar nightmare in 2004 with another gorilla in Dallas Zoo. Now, they were left with serious injuries, but thankfully they are still alive. Please go and check out the story, use Google or whatever. So the zoo did the right thing. In fact, while you're there checking out that story, just a few days ago, 2 lions were shot dead at Santiago Zoo in Chile. This is after Ferrado Roman, a 20-year-old man, stripped himself naked and provoked the animals in an attempt to kill himself. Now, 700 people signed a petition sympathetic to the man and targeting the zoo for not making it more difficult for a person to enter as he did. Now, that's the right approach as far as I'm concerned. No one was blaming Ferrado, who was clearly mentally unwell. Many of the people who are moaning about the loss of Harambe are not really acknowledging the saving of an innocent child. And let's be clear here, the child is innocent. It reminds me of another incident that just took place. Have you heard the story of the 7-year-old Yamato Tanuka? Now, he was left alone in a forest populated by hundreds of brown bears for 6 days by his parents as punishment after he was told off and they lost patience when he was throwing rocks. They drove off in their car and just left him there. Now, I didn't notice any of the same wrath directed at those parents. I think in Japan there was quite a discussion, but even in the West, no one seemed to care. Those parents deliberately left the 7-year-old in a forest populated with wild animals with no food or water, and he was only found by luck. But let's just stay on track. This discussion is about racism. It's not a philosophical debate about whether the life of a human child is more valuable than that of a gorilla. Or perhaps it is. Okay. Well, let's consider the tragic case of Cherry Gross. In 1985, officers from the Metropolitan Police burst into the home of the late Dorothy Cherry Gross and shot her point blank. Now, they did this in front of her children. At the time, her children were then 8, 11, 14 and 18. and I think there's a 21-year. Their mother was left unable to walk afterwards, and 4 of the 5 were diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. And this is after experiencing repeated bouts of panic attacks and depression. You've got to think about the kind of long-term impact that has on them. Now you may be thinking, what's that got to do with anything? I mean, that was years ago. How's that linked to Harambe? Well, I'll tell you how. A few days ago, they finally won a compensation case against the police for their trauma. The media response to this story? Nothing. Think about it. Children witnessed their mum being shot, no interest. People witnessed the video of the gorilla being shot, outrage. A few days ago, there was a damning report highlighting racism in the NHS, specifically targeting African people. The media response? Once again, you got it right. Zilch, nada, nothing. So you've got to ask yourself one question, and this is just like in that film, Time to Kill. Would the response have been the same if the child was blonde and blue-eyed? I think we know the answer. Now, before I close this, it's a very special edition because one of my heroes recently joined the ancestors. That was a brother by the name of Muhammad Ali. I don't know if you can see that there. This wonderful book, Afro Superhero, by one of my heroes and inspirations, John Daniels. He's dedicated a couple of pages to him. In fact, it's an awesome book. You need to get a copy of it. So, dedicating this issue to a man who would have and did throughout his life stand up for our people and made it very clear. In fact, let me read the quote, what he says. Hating people because of their colour is wrong. And it doesn't matter which colour does the hating, it's just plain wrong. So I'm going to close with those words and say, may the ancestors continue to guide and protect us. Ashe.